hanging another Carrie Stevens streamer today. This fly is called the Governor. It's a pattern similar to some of the others that she's done in that the wing in its construction has a base color hackle on it, but then it has a Grizzly Hackle on the front of it. I like this effect because I like contrast in flies, and I think the Grizzly Hackle gives us a nice barring and banding contrast to it. But it's just an interesting effect that she does with some of her streamers in putting different colored hackles together to basically get a different hue, a different effect to it. And this is one of them. Similar to another one called the Big Ben, which I'll be doing a video on next week. The Big Ben has a different shoulder. It has golden pheasant in the shoulder. This is a dyed brown mallard in it, and then an eye of jungle cock. But otherwise, this streamer is put together like a lot of her other streamers, so it shouldn't be anything really new. That is the Carrie Stevens Governor, and I'll get started tying. Start the Governor with my hook and the vise. This is a Partridge CS15 in a size 4. I'm going to debarb the hook. Then I'm going to attach my thread. The thread, I'm starting out with a white 140 Denier UTC. The 140 is simply because it's going to let me go up and down the shank a little bit better. A little bit quicker, I should say. And it's white because the fly has an orange floss body. I'll attach my thread around the end of the body and just bring this on down. You want to try and keep this as smooth as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. The floss is pretty forgiving. Certainly if you're going to tie this as a fishing fly, you can be a little bit not as fastidious, let's put it that way. Now I'm going to stop about 2/3 the way down the hook shank. That's where I'm going to tie in the tip. So the tip on this and the rib is silver tinsel. I'm using a Danville size 12 gold and Mylar tinsel. There is no tail on the Governor, so I can tie this in and leave it hanging out the back as I bring the thread back up and then put in the floss body, so I can wrap in the tip and the rib at the same time. So as you can see, I have the gold side up, so it will flip over to the silver side when I wrap it in. For floss, I'm just using a Danville 4-strand Rayon floss in orange. I'm going to tie this in so it's pretty much the length of the body. That way it gives me a nice smooth underbody. Again, if you're going to tie these, you're going to frame them, or you want to give them as a gift or something like that, or for display, then take a little bit more time to make this a little smoother. What you can do, spin your thread counterclockwise to take the twist out of the thread, and that will allow you to lay that down a little bit flatter, maybe a little bit neater if you want to. But for fishing purposes, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. all the way up into the end of the body, into the head space here. And now I'll apply the floss for the body, and then the rib. I should say the tip and the rib. Almost don't have enough floss for this. When I tied that in, I was afraid it might be a little short. And it actually kind of is. But I'm going to go with it because I'm right at the end of the body here. And again, I'm tying this as a fishing fly, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So with the body in, I'm going to now apply the tinsel or the tip on the end, and then the rib. Mentioned in other videos that when you're doing these long streamer flies, there is no exact number in terms of the number of ribs. Your traditional wet flies generally have 5 wraps of ribbing material. And even I think your classic Atlantic salmon flies and even some steelhead flies are kind of that way. Traditionally, people put in about 5 wraps. But these, it's not set in terms of how many wraps. But what you want to do is make certain that you're keeping them evenly spaced so that they're nice and even all the way up. Now, I'm done with the white thread because I have the body in. I'm going to change over to my orange thread. For orange thread, I'm going to use, it's a Uni-Thread in a pumpkin color. It's kind of a nice bright orange. The head of the Governor is black with an orange band to it. I have mentioned in some of the other videos that you're going to actually tie the rest of the fly with the orange on this, or whatever color band that you're going to have. And then we'll put some black thread on there to make the 2 black bands at the head. Common sense would say you're going to use the black and then put the orange on it, but the orange would get darkened up by that black thread. So there is a underbelly or belly on this, as she puts it, and that is just some white bucktail. That's pretty much on all of her streamers. If she has a belly in there, she's going to use some white bucktail, and sometimes she'll put some peacock curl down in with it. In this case, the peacock curl is going to be put in as a part of the wing. So I'm going to tie that in so it just extends past the bend of the hook a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of wax on my thread here to just give me a little bit better grip when I'm tying these materials in. There's a throat on the Governor, and the throat is made of white hackle. I'm using some white Schlappen hackle for this. I'm going to tie this in 3 separate clumps. The throat usually goes back to about halfway down the body. I'm going to tie one directly on the bottom. And then one pretty much on both sides. What this does is it helps to obscure the thread colors and the thread wraps under there, is my understanding. With that tied in, I'm going to tidy this up just a little bit. You could have left your white thread on if you wanted to do that step and then change it out now. It's up to you. For the wing is comprised of about 5 or 6 peacock curls. And then, as I mentioned in the beginning, each sides of the wing is a yellow hackle and a white grizzly hackle. An interesting thing about this, she does this in a number of flies, is the white grizzly hackle will give it a nice contrast, kind of banding look, and it also lightens up that yellow just a little bit. And then there's a shoulder of dyed brown Mallard Flank and an eye of jungle cock. So I'll get my peacock curl, get those tips evened up. I'm going to have that as long as the belly. And I'll tie in both of the wings. These wings are already pre-made. I've done another video on how I set these wings up. If you're interested, I'm going to put the 2 wings together so that the concave sides are together. I want to match up the ends down here, which, if I did these correctly, would match up the tips down here as well. I'm going to trim away the excess here. So I have just a little bit to tie this in. And I'm going to tie each of these on one at a time. Actually, I'm going to tie this one on first so you can see just where I'm putting this and how I tie this in. Otherwise, the other one kind of block your view. But this isn't really going on the top of the head. It kind of goes on the upper corner of it. And I get that anchored in, make certain that it is flush and straight. And as you can see, it's not on the very top here or the side. It's kind of in this upper corner right here. With that tied in, I'll go ahead and tie in the opposite side, making certain that I have the base of the wings evened up there and the tips out here. And again, that also is kind of tied in that upper corner. As you can see here, it's not right next to this one, and it's not right on top of the head. So now I'm going to use the orange thread, clean all this up, and put a base down for the head of the governor. Mostly I want to get it all covered, but you probably notice up near the eye of the hook it's a little bit darker, and that's because of the dark color of the hook itself. And that's okay, because that's where a dark band of black is going to go. So if in the back here or up in the front, I don't quite have it covered perfect, there's a black band on the back and then on the front. So right in the middle is where I want to make certain that I've got it all covered. I have a nice base color of orange, but I also don't want to bulk up the head in the middle and make it kind of roundish. Once I have that done, I'll use my whip finish tool, put in a whip finish. Cut away my orange thread. Now I'm going to attach my black thread. I'm using a Danville 6/0 in black. And I'm going to start by attaching my thread just in the back here, about where the outer edge of that band is going to be. Get in a few wraps here to anchor that down. You'll notice I don't have it wrapped all the way back. That's because I want to cut that off. And then I'll wrap down that little tag end. So here I want to make certain I'm wrapping enough to cover up any of the orange. But again, I don't want to bulk up the fly. You could use a UTC 70 Denier if you prefer for this, and it flattens out a little bit nicer than this Danville. But I could also flatten out the Danville. So once I get that all covered, I'll bring my thread to the back of that band. And again, using my whip finish tool, I'll put in about a 5-turn whip finish. Just want to take care that you're not getting any errant wraps somewhere else, that they're staying where they should be. And again, as a fishing fly, if you have one little wrap of black thread that came out, and you got an orange band right there because of it, I don't think it's going to ruin the fishability of the fly. Now I'm going to attach my thread right behind the eye of the hook, wrapping this in backwards to jam down the tag end. Get a few wraps in, cut this off, and now I will shape the front band so that essentially I have everything. I have about 3 even bands of black, orange, and black. With all of that covered, put in a whip finish. I'll put some head cement on all of this. That will soak right down in there and solidify all of that, the head of that. I'll come back in a minute and I'll put some clear lacquer on that, a couple of coats. That's going to just make it a little more durable and help protect the thread wraps just a little bit more. So that is Carrie Stevens Governor. Fun little fly, like I said, very similar to a lot of other flies that she's done in how it's put together. I like these patterns with the Grizzly Hackles in them. Next week I'm doing a video on another fly called the Big Ben, which also has, it looks similar to this. The wing is a white hackle and the Grizzly Hackle is actually dyed yellow. So it actually kind of gives the same effect in this as the Governor here. Another fun Carrie Stevens pattern. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.